Paid parking is an important parking management strategy that contributes ease of access and movement of vehicular and foot traffic in high traffic areas. There are several parking management strategies that can be implemented by municipalities. Pricing of parking allows a municipality to manage on and off-street parking while also incentivizing alternative modes of transportation. But such a system must be mutually beneficial for all stakeholders involved if it is to work. On this episode of Government in Action, we take a look at the parking meter project introduced by the Georgetown Mayor and City Council and government's warranted involvement that seeks to ensure that the project is one which is thoroughly looked at in order to benefit the people of Guyana. While the idea of paying to park in city centres might be new to most Guyanese, access to adequate, safe parking areas is an important part of urban planning and cannot or ought not always be free. According to a report by the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, parking management strategies, particularly pricing, lead users to economize when it comes to parking. Many drivers will shift to different modes of transportation, will drive at different times of day, or may combine trips. These actions will help to reduce traffic congestion, roadway costs, pollution, and more. A studied look at traffic management in the city of Georgetown easily illuminates a number of problems illustrated by haphazard parking of vehicles, particularly during peak hours, which impedes ease of access, contributes to the threat of road accidents, and encroaches on walkways meant for pedestrians. That there is a need for a solution which involves paid parking is hardly debatable. However, the introduction of paid parking in Georgetown has received opposition from the public for a variety of reasons. In June 2016, the Mayor and City Council awarded a contract to National Parking System Smart City Solutions Incorporated for the installation of parking meters in Georgetown, a project that had been pursued by the former City Council as early as 2006, but which had not come to fruition. Mayor of Georgetown, Ms. Patricia Chase Green, later that month at a press conference announced that the council had met with Minister of Communities, Mr. Ronald Bulkan, and provided him with a copy of the contract and supporting documents, while outlining the council's right to proceed with developmental works for the local government authority they oversee. Both the MNCC and the contracted company pushed the benefits of the project as easing congestion, while MNCC said that the project would bring in much-needed revenue for the cash-strapped body. But the project has, since its inception, been shrouded in controversy, with the public raising concerns from the affordability of parking for customers to the lack of transparency with regard to the contract. Government has paid close attention to the unfolding of the project while noting the concerns of the public. From the inception, President David Granger acknowledged the autonomy of the MNCC, a democratically elected body voted for through the local government elections. Instead, the President encouraged the Council to pay close attention to national interest and involve the people every step of the way.
In everything they did, they need to be assured of not necessarily the compliance, of consultation with the stakeholders on every major measure that will have an effect on the residents of Georgetown, corporate residents, individual property owners. There should be information and communication. That's all. I'm not directing, I'm not dictating, I'm simply asking for the process to be open and transparent so that people know what the decisions are made by the council.
Minister of Communities, Mr. Ronald Bulkan, said that government had also advised the council of the high rates for parking.
I think from having listened to the views of myself, many persons, I think there's a general buy-in on the need for such an initiative because there are many benefits to a project such as this. It helps to restore order to city streets. It helps to reduce pollution. It increases the security. It makes traffic management and traffic flow easier. But the main concern is the question of rates. It is considered to be too high, too burdensome. It is a view that it's one that I share as well. It's one that I expressed recently to the council. And I'm pleased to say that the council had already started discussions with the concessionaire, the contractor, Smart City, and they were receptive and willing and accommodating to consider adjustments to the tariff to make it less burdensome.
In December last year, Smart City Solutions began its installation of 157 parking meters, which accounted for 3,237 parking spaces around Georgetown. In January, paid parking took effect with the cost for parking set at $50 for every 15 minutes. And while this cost was significantly lower than the initially proposed $125, the $50 fee, which amounted to $200 per hour, was still considered too expensive. Following calculations, persons parking for 8 hours a day while at work were required to pay $32,000 in monthly parking fees. This did not sit well with the public, and the project saw protest action being launched against City Hall soon after its implementation, and a subsequent push for the boycott of the parking meters. The people called for the project to be revoked due to concerns of lack of transparency because there was no public tender or feasibility study. Later, public distrust increased following publication of the parking meter bylaws, which prescribed charges for parking misdemeanors and gave Smart City Solutions certain powers relating to their operations. But the mayor and city council continued to press ahead with the project. Government, maintaining its desire to avoid dictating the mayor and city council, was forced to call a high-level meeting with the mayor and town clerk in order to ensure that the voice of the people was being heard. Following that meeting, President Granger said on the public interest that government was not satisfied with the general provisions of the parking meter project and added that controversies could have been avoided had there been more consultations with stakeholders by the City Council before venturing into the agreement.
We do feel that the contract is burdensome, and we feel that there was simply not enough communication with the other partners and civil society. And we feel that was injurious to the character of the final contract. Yes, I believe that if a procedure had been followed in which there was wide advertising, it could have been there could have been a different outcome. But as I said, we have not double-guessed the work of the council, and it's a matter for the council to decide. I don't think that any law was broken. But at the same time, I feel that the approach of the City Council could have been different. At the meeting held on February 8, President Granger made it clear that the government would not overrule the democratically elected council. Instead, the president encouraged the MNCC to re-engage with civil society and the business community to come to a consensual solution. Minister Bulkan, who also attended the meeting, acknowledged the usefulness of the project, but stated that the rates were too burdensome and hinted that government suggested to the mayor a possible reduction of the rates.
The position of the central government was a very respectful one on the part of the president. He assured the municipality that it is not the desire of the central government to intrude or to usurp or marginalize the authority and the independence of the council. In fact, he was at pains to assure the council of his commitment to recognizing the authority of this democratic institution which is created by our constitution. But nonetheless, that there is significant public concern, and I think without seeking to dictate to or seek to dominate what should obtain in the municipality, I believe that the municipality was encouraged to engage in further dialogue with some of the affected stakeholders, and in particular the business community. But this would have the mechanism for this, and the details would have to be worked out by the municipality. The central government is careful that it is not seeking to make decisions on the part of the municipality, but to encourage further engagement and discussions and dialogue. What the president said, that confrontation is not helpful to any of the sides, and what we need to have is consultation as opposed to confrontation.
Meanwhile, Mayor Chase Green, following the meeting, said that the council is willing to go back to the negotiation table and to have further consultations with stakeholders with a view to moving forward.
We've listened to the cries of the people, and yes, we're willing to go back to the table and to have consultations with them and to move forward, because we want to develop the city.
It is no secret that the council is cash-strapped, and the mayor continued to defend that apart from restoring order in the city. The project was aimed at garnering much-needed revenue to pilot the transformation of the city. The meeting came hand in hand with a review of the parking meter bylaws by Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs Mr. Basil Williams, who following that review referred to the fees as too burdensome, though they were not unlawful. But even after the meeting and after City Council began some consultations with members of the business community and other stakeholders, tensions continued to rise and people continued to call for the parking meter contract to be scrapped. In early February, private citizen Mahendra Arjun secured an order from then Acting Chief Justice Yonah Cummings Edwards for the Mayor and City Council to show cause why the agreement with Smart City Solutions should not be scrapped on several grounds. The bylaws were also challenged in court by the New Building Society via an affidavit, which claimed that the parking meters badly affected the financial institution's customers and employees. As these concerns continued to mount, it was then that a definitive decision by Cabinet was made for the suspension of the parking meter system for a period of 90 days. Minister of State Mr. Joseph Harman, during post-Cabinet press briefing, said that Cabinet considered financial aspects of the contract and the concerns of citizens which sparked the decision. Cabinet's first order was at first objected by the MNCC through a written correspondence by the town clerk to Minister Bulkan after seeking legal advice. However, a new order was signed by the minister, while Minister of Public Security Mr. Kemraj Ramjatan was tasked with ensuring that the Guyana Police Force participates in the prevention of the clamping of vehicles by the parking meter company.
So what has happened now is that another order has been issued, one which has no such ambiguity, which clearly suspends the bylaws. So there is no discretion on the part of the council to seek to conform. If you will, this is a done deal, and on the basis of this, the council will now be clearly advised to inform the company that paid parking is suspended and that negotiations, and the company invited to enter into negotiations. At that stage, it will be up to the company to determine what is their response and reaction to this new action of the government.
Now, as the public awaits the next step following a review of the parking meters agreement, members of the public have expressed their thoughts on the matter.
I think it's a wise idea for them to come because it's affecting everybody that has a vehicle, and it's in big shoppers, you go and buy, you don't have no place, you have to go far distance, and the parking meter is out because we Guyanese, we're not getting a proper percentage from that, right, that contract. And I think a paid parking, persons coming around, even with the city council involved, coming around and collecting a small fee, that will work for the country in the revenue, because presently the city council always in a financial crisis. So I think that if they'd use that same system and let the workers come out and go to persons and collect a small fee for parking, that would be fine, it would work.
Okay, and what do you think about the government stopping the parking meter project to look at how it would benefit the Guyanese people?
I look at it that the government has a heart for poor people, and he's trying to be considerate, because it's not about money, it's not about people in high society. You got to look at the low class people, because persons are making sacrifices to get a vehicle in order for them to get to work early if they have a large family. And I think that the government is looking, it has a heart for people.
The government and everyone should come together and, make a suitable parking for every vehicle in Georgetown, mostly in Georgetown. Like, for example, see all these people putting up big buildings. They should at least, ease the big buildings and get 1 or 2 or 3 big parking lots for everyone to go park the vehicle inside.
Right. So what do you think about the government stopping the parking meter project to look at what can be done otherwise?
Well, I think it's a good thing that they stop it, right? So that, everyone can at least say what they have to say, and the government and everyone can come together and take everyone's opinion and process it.
The bad of it is that you shouldn't put everyone to parking meters. I mean, especially if it's in the busy areas, like in this, like for example right here, there are business people who have their businesses, and so I mean, if you have to pay for parking meter all day, that's like, no, you can't do that. I mean, first of all, you're barely doing business, some with people, and now you have to pay for parking meter, which is like off the grid, and so
the prices are a little too. The prices are too high. I mean, if you're gonna like raise, if you're gonna put parking meters here and you're gonna raise on tax and money, you need to raise on other things like people's pay. It was actually kind of good, but you need to continue it, because if it's just here now doing nothing, people need to get accustomed to pay it, because if they want to do it on a long-term scale, you can't use it and stop and then use it and stop again. So yeah.
Oh, the other part of it is that Guyana is a small place. Our population is kind of limited, and so we have a growing population at the same time. So we don't exactly have like the space, and so like for parking as well. If you want to keep the parking meters, keep it, but just lower the cost of it.
Meanwhile, experts within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure have expressed that while charging users for parking could generate revenue that can finance other services, it is vital that the various political, institutional and technical obstacles are resolved with the measured involvement of stakeholders.
What we have seen is that paid parking is best implemented as part of an integrated parking management program. As part of an overall strategy to reduce urban congestion and improve the urban transportation experience, paid parking is usually implemented together with 1. An upgraded public transport system, so that the option of parking outside of the paid parking zone and riding a bus to one's destination is both practical and affordable, and 2. With improved facilities for walking and cycling to make this a viable alternative. Such facilities include continuous pedestrian sidewalks and cycle lanes and paths.
The ministry has contracted the services of Lodged Transportation Engineers GSD Plus to conduct a parking census in the Central Business District. The data collected from the census show that long-term parkers are a majority, and therefore their needs must be adequately addressed. The ministry has suggested that a combination of the data collected and focused stakeholders' consultations will help to inform the development of an integrated parking management plan. The Sustainable Urban Transport Study for Georgetown, which includes the parking management plan, will be presented by the ministry in a report by July 2017. Government maintains that while it respects the autonomy of City Hall, it is the well-being of the general public that remains a priority. As such, its intervention was necessary to allow for the views of all stakeholders to be taken into consideration before deciding the best way forward for the parking meters. This is Jasmine Payne. Thank you for joining us.